Hi, everyone. Teresa Aker here from Success Diaries with Teresa Aker. It's my pleasure today to introduce you to Corbin. And I'm going to let you say your last name because I just about said I don't want to say it wrong, Corbin. So go ahead.
It's Tomaszeski.
Thank you. So, a wonderful chef, and I'm so excited you're here. You have a great place. I actually see you a lot in the social media, and you've got a great place. So, let's start at the beginning, how it all started.
Oh my gosh, how much time do we have?
Lots of time.
Listen, I've been in the industry for a very long time. A long time. It is a long time. It's 30 plus years, which in my industry is an achievement in itself. Because listen, there's a high burnout rate. There's a lot of people that kind of get into it, do it, and then eventually over a period of time, they get away from it because it's a tough job. Two, it's a very demanding career in the sense that there is no sleep for the wicked, if you will. I always say that my business as a chef and running my catering business right now is like that of a realtor. You're going 24/7 because you never know what's going to happen the next day or two. Things come up and they randomly happen. You always got to pre-plan. You build clients for life, and you're only as good as your last experience, your last meal, your last customer. So for us, I love it. I've always done it. I've never known anything else. And what I loved most about it when I was a young kid was what food did, and it was bringing people together to just gather around food. And I thought, wow, what a unique concept. You just make something and people show up and you have conversations. It's around celebrations. It's around moments of sorrow. It's around moments of stress. It's around moments of every emotion in your life. And what better way to do that for a career, right?
Oh gosh, yes.
Yeah.
So now, were your parents like did they do a lot of cooking, a lot of gathering themselves?
Yeah, so I grew up in a farm in Alberta.
Okay. Oh,
So in a rural area of Alberta, a very small community, super small. Like we're talking, like I think the farm I grew up in was about 8 miles away from where I went to school. And it could sound like I grew up in the 20s, but I'll tell you the short story. There's like 500 people in the village. Like we're talking small.
okay.
And I grew up with a very large extended family. My parents, I have there's six siblings in my immediate family. My mother had six kids in her family. My father had five, and there was always large celebrations. So whether it was again those milestone celebrations of anniversaries, birthdays, weddings, there was always gatherings. But I just knew at an early age when my grandmothers would cook, and we would go every second Sunday. We'd visit one grandmother one Sunday after church, go to the next grandmother the following Sunday, and it was always around these incredible meals. And
Right.
again, I gravitated to, wow, what a unique concept of just bringing that sense of comfort and home, and more importantly, just family around food. So I easily gravitated toward it. And I don't know if you know much about growing up in a farm in Alberta, but it was a lot of work. And listen, I remember cooking my first meal. I think I was like 9 or 10 years old. And I just enjoyed it. And I would follow, my mom had two or three cookbooks, and I would follow her recipes. And sometimes they were a huge disaster, and sometimes they were a success. But I always tell the story about how back in the day there used to be phone books, white pages and yellow pages, and they used to be like this thick. And my mom never threw them out. And I would stack them on the floor and I would watch. And so I could get and peek
Oh,
at the pots on the countertop so I could see what she was doing because she didn't have a step stool. And I just remember watching her just put all these ingredients together to make food and just create this wonderful meal. It wasn't fancy by any means, but it was just really good stuff. And then that kind of piqued my interest at an early age with my grandmothers and my other extended family. And it just became something very organic. And when you go to high school, you are trying to have a plan in place to think, okay, what am I going to do? What should you do for no 17-year-old knows what they want to do for the rest of their life. Gosh, many adults don't even know what they want to do.
that's right.
So I went into cooking school with the plan of, okay, I'll do that until I can figure out what I really want to do.
Yeah.
And I went in and I instantly fell in love with it. It just became, I won't say it was easy, but it was very natural. And I just excelled at it. And I've been going ever since. And I graduated with high honors in my cooking school. I did apprenticeship and became one of the top apprentices in the province and worked with great chefs, traveled and started building those layers, if you will. And I forgive the pun, but I always say being a chef is like an onion. You start off as a tiny little sprout, and then you just build layers and layers until you become what I am today, a pretty big onion with lots of
Yeah.
layers.
No kidding. Now, I know you were, so you traveled, so that's amazing. So you got to have different cultures and different ideas. I
Yeah.
love that. I've seen some of your work. It's just beautiful. You just take food and bring it to life. So you absolutely have enormous talent. Now, did you own your own restaurants or did you work as a chef for restaurants? What did you do,
So
Corbin?
I worked under a lot of different chefs at a young age because I was a little sponge. I was soaking everything up because for me it was young, eager, kind of farm boy, hardworking. I would just do everything and anything they asked. So chefs loved me because I would never say no. And I remember going to school. My day would start at 5:30 in the morning. I'd be at school by 7. And back in those days, you couldn't be late. You were late twice, you got kicked out.
Okay.
And I would start at 7 and I would finish at 3 and then I would work. I worked full time in different places and I would work from 3:30 till like midnight. And I did it every day. And that's how I put
Wow.
myself through school. But I enjoyed it and I never worked. I was really fortunate because I had great chefs. And one path just led to another. And one of the things I really discovered at an early age was no matter what you're doing in life, there's always an opportunity. And you always have to look at things instead of just looking at it head on. You got to look at, okay, what's beyond that? What are the other things that can happen as a result of that, etc. Whether it's the people you work with, the environment you're in, the location that you're working. So I was young and pretty naive. I didn't know what I wanted, but I knew there was always something to learn from something. And that kind of carried me to listen, I started off in the bottom of the kitchen in some
Sure.
places and built my way up to sous chefs and executive sous chefs. And then eventually I got a call from a buddy of mine who was at the time we were both members of the Canadian Federation of Chefs and Cooks, which is this organization of chefs across the country. And at that time I was the membership director and he was a fellow member and he said, "Hey, I'm leaving my job." He goes, "I know you're doing great at your current job," which back then was I was a sous chef at the convention center in Edmonton. And he said, "I'm the executive chef and manager of this place called Holt Renfrew, and I'm leaving.
Oh my.
I think you should come and check it out." And at that point, I didn't know Holt Renfrew from anything. I didn't know what Holt Renfrew was. And I was super young. So you have to remember, if I started at 17, at that time, I probably would have been in my early 20s.
Sure.
And so he says, "Come check it out. Why don't you meet me for a coffee?" So we went, and I remember walking into Holt's thinking, "Oh my gosh, what is this place?" Because it was so very different from what I was exposed to. And he, at that time, was the executive chef and manager of the restaurant at the Holt Run in Edmonton. And he, as I mentioned, he was leaving. And he said, "I think you'd be great at it." And I thought, there's no way I can make quiche and scones for all these little old ladies. At that time, I had a team of 60 people. And we were doing dinners from 10 people to 5,000. I'm like, I'm going to come down and do this. It was back at that time where I had a aha moment where I thought, okay, what's the opportunity?
Right.
And I used it as this stepping stone, if you will, to go in and take over as my first chef job. And I was like so naive and so nervous. And coincidentally, that same day, the general manager of the store came into the restaurant where I was meeting my buddy. And she said, "Who are you?" Blah, blah, blah. We met. And she more or less interviewed me on the spot. And she said, "Okay, here's the deal, Corbin." She goes, "I need a chef. I think you're a great guy." She goes, "But why don't you just come in next week and just create any menu you want for myself and my management team?" And she goes and do a test to see if you like it and see if we like your food. And I thought, okay, challenge accepted. So I went in the following week. She brought her entire management team in the restaurant, like regular customers. And I went in and I did this stage, if you will, of 5, 6, 7, 8 items. And I just banged out a bunch of food. And she hired me on the spot. And I started my first executive chef job with Holt Renfrew. And that's really what excelled my career because it gave me the autonomy to run a small little business with using other people's money. It had incredible exposure, incredible opportunities of different scopes within my business, whether it was restaurant and I started a catering business and I just started doing more and more with them. And I'd worked with them for a couple of years and I was doing very well. And I liked my job. My family was still out west. I had everybody there. And the president of the company came one day and he said, "Corbin, would you ever consider moving to Toronto?" And I'm like, "Oh, no, that's not going to happen." "I really think it's something you should consider."
Yeah.
And again, I'm super young. So he said, "Listen, you have three options. You can say yes, you can say no." He says, "Why don't you let me wine and dine you for 4 or 5 days in Toronto?" I'm like, "Okay, I'll take option number three." And so they flew me to Toronto. And at that time, Holt Renfrew had many stores, many
Yeah.
locations.
Yeah.
Flagship store was here in Toronto on Bloor Street, and they had a restaurant on the third floor and a gourmet in the concourse. And I went there, and the goal was that they just wanted me. He knew he wanted me because I was doing so incredibly well in Edmonton. I was doing so many positive changes, and financially, the business was doing great, and food was fantastic. And there was a lot of positive things happening at that tiny little space or that cafe in Edmonton. I did my tour, and again, we sat in his office, and he said, Corbin, I want to build restaurants. I want to do big things with food. I want to do experiential stuff in the stores. And I think you're the guy that can help me do it. And he said to me across his desk, he said, I'm going to make you a star. I'm
Wow.
like, what? He says, I'm going to make you a star. And you have to remember, he's quite the stoic, very English man. And he was recently the new president. And he came from Harrods in
Oh,
London. And
okay.
he had worked with oh my gosh, what's the family that owns Harrods? Fayed. You know the Fayed family?
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah, so I thought, okay. So he says, by the time you land, he says there'll be an offer. And you have to remember, this is back in the day where
Yeah,
letters of offer came on a fax machine. He says, by the time you land and go back to work, there'll be a letter of offer for you. And he goes, you just need to tell me when you want to start. And I'm like, oh no, I'm not coming. Like, I can't come. You have to remember, I knew no one in Toronto. Nobody. And I go, sure enough, I got back to work a day or two later, and there was that offer. And I remember at the time thinking, okay, opportunity, right? And I've always been somebody who's been very quiet, respectful, but more importantly, I was always pretty confident with myself, and I knew what my abilities are. And again, I thought, okay, if I'm going to do this, I got to do it. So I remember I went back to him. I said, okay, if you want me to come to Toronto, you need to pay me more because I'm leaving my friends, my family. At that time, I had my own house in Edmonton. I got to sell my house. I'm relocating. And 6 weeks later, I moved
wow.
to the big city and wound up working at the flagship store with him. And I don't know how many other 100 employees. And here's putting things into context. So here I am. I'm still this
Sure,
small town Alberta boy.
sure.
I'm young. And you have to understand, when I was 25, I looked like I was still 17. When I was 17, I looked like I was 12. So I remember going in, and I was working and I don't know if you've ever been to the flagship store in Bloor at Holt's.
I actually worked at the Manulife Center when I was
Oh my
16.
gosh. There you go. So I just worked my little butt off there, and we started doing these incredible things, and we were building restaurants and having fun with food. And his goal always was, how do we keep people in the store? Because
Right.
the longer they're in the store, though, there's a greater likelihood that they'll spend more money. And he
Absolutely.
said the best way to do it is food. So we built restaurants, we did pop-ups, and I started doing all their catering and all their events. And you have to remember, at that time, it was crazy. And Hope Renfrew still is, I'm sure. But that turned into almost a 15-year career.
That's
And I did the restaurants, I did their events, and the stories I could tell you about, whether it's fashion designers or celebrities, or we did all the TIFF parties and the Vanity Fair parties. It was insane. And I just went in because I love food, and I loved how
sure.
things could constantly be reinvented. And I thought, okay, this is great because I can still be the chef. I still have the autonomy running my business. I got to work very closely with the Westin family because they owned Holt Renfrew. They
Sure.
still do.
Absolutely.
And I loved it. I had a large team. And I think at one point I had 3 or 4 or 5 managers. I had a team of 60, 70 people. And there I was on this platform of luxury, which I never ever thought I would get to. And I remember one day I was downstairs. I was constantly like, at that time, I always called myself Superman, and my cape was my apron. So I'd be in the kitchen in the throes of lunchtime or dinner, whatever, and I would quickly get a clean apron and I would go, and I would always touch tables,
Yeah.
which you have to remember, back in the 90s, late 90s, people didn't do that in the 2000s. The chef never went out to the front of the restaurant.
No,
That
that's
never
right.
happened. Me, I wanted to know, what did you think of the dish? How did you enjoy your meal? How was your service? It was all of those things that kind of created that experience. And ultimately, I attribute that to that president at the time. His name was Andrew Jennings, and I would go back and forth. So one day at lunch, I remember I finished the lunch at the restaurant upstairs, and I flew back down to the gourmet, which is our concourse level, which we used to put through thousands of people a day. Like, we're talking thousands of people, because that was the hub. And back then, there was no other place to eat in the concourse level. And so I was down there one day, and my team knows I'm very obsessive of how things need to be. That's just how I am as a chef. When you're trained as a young apprentice and you work under militant brigade style
Right.
environments with chefs, things are done a certain way. Plus, growing up on a farm, being a Virgo, maybe a little obsessive on things. It's just natural for me. So I was down there one day and we used to have this massive showcase of these ready-made sandwiches. We'd make 500 sandwiches a day. And sometimes people go in and they pick one up, put it in another spot, and it would get a little messy. So I'm there one day and I'm arranging all the sandwiches, lining them all up like soldiers, making it all neat and tidy. And this lady comes beside me and we know we're chit-chatting. She says, "Oh my gosh, the food here is so good." I said, "Oh, yeah." And she doesn't know who I am. Right.
Yeah,
I'm like, "Oh,
exactly.
yeah, it's delicious." And she says, "The team is always so friendly and it's always so busy here." And she goes, "The food, oh my gosh." She goes, "It must be an incredible chef." I said, "You have no idea. Like this
Right.
chef here is phenomenal." And we're chatting. I said, "Oh, he's charismatic, he's funny, he's charming, he's very handsome." And she looks at me and she says, "It's you. You're the chef, aren't you?" And I said, "Yes." And it turned out her name was Dale Burstein, and she was a producer of a show for Food Network.
Oh, of course. Okay.
And she said, "Listen, I think you're a funny guy." She goes, "You're
Yeah,
clearly talented. I know what you do." She goes, "I'm doing a new show on this network called Food Network, which had just launched not too
sure.
recently before that." And she said, "We're doing a new show. I think that you should come on audition for the show and be one of the hosts, be the chef on the show." And again, I'm like, I have no desire to be on TV. Like I'm a chef. And again, I thought, okay, no, my first instinct was, no, that's not what I am. And then she said, "Listen, think about it. Here are the details, blah, blah, blah." And then I had the aha moment again where I'm thinking, okay, what is the opportunity? And I remember and I auditioned for that role. The show was called Crash My Kitchen, and I was the chef. And I remember I had a script. I had to memorize a script. And I'm thinking, I'm not an actor. I'm not an actor. Listen, the exposure I had to watching food on TV as a kid growing up was a little bit of Julia Child, the urban peasant, Yan Can Cook. Remember David Jerusi from what's the show? Beachcombers?
Oh,
Remember
yeah, of course.
he had a cooking show. So
That's right. I remember that. You're right. And the
right.
Galloping
So
Gourmet, remember
the
him?
Galvin Gourmet, like Julia, like there was no
Yeah,
network where it was just a platform for people
that's
to
correct.
celebrate food. And I remember having and this is how dated this goes back. And I had to go in audition, sit in a waiting room, and I remember looking around thinking, I don't really belong here because you could see there's actors around. I don't think like I'm going to audition for some sort of Broadway musical. I don't know what the hell I'm doing here. And I remember walking into the boardroom, and it was a boardroom set up, and it was around the corner from Manulife. It was a casting agency called Jenny Lewis Casting Agency over there by St. Mary's and behind Bloor.
Was
And
it on John Street by chance?
John or Charles,
Where
somewhere around
Second Cup was in there?
there.
I know the studio. I know where you mean.
So I go into this studio or this boardroom, and there's a bunch of people sitting, the lights are dim, and there is on the floor a piece of tape, electrical tape with an X where I'm supposed to stand. And
Sure.
I'm without a word of a lie in front of me is a VHS camera recording me. But talk about high tech. And I am sweating. Like I am nervous like no other because this is completely out of my comfort zone. And again, I'm a confident person, but I'm not an actor. I've memorized a script. I don't. And so I go and I thought, okay, before I start, I have to say something. I got to break the ice. So I said, "Listen, before I recite my lines or tell you what you want to hear," I said, "I have to tell you one thing." And they're like, "Oh, what's that?" And I said, "I'm not an actor. I'm never going to be an actor. I don't claim to be an actor. I'm a chef. I love food, and that's what I do." And at the time, which whom I didn't know, a gentleman stands up. He was the director of the show, and he said, "One thing what you need to know," he goes, "none of us here know how to cook."
Oh, that's wonderful.
And it just broke the ice.
Yeah, sure.
I went in, I did my line, and they said, "Thank you very much," and I left. Right? Now, at that point, you have to understand now my spidey senses are tingling. Okay. Now I'm a little excited because I now know I've now tuned into the Food Network. I know what they're doing. I know what's happening. I'm in one of the largest cities in North America. And I'm thinking, okay, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? And I'm excited. And then I don't get a call.
Oh,
Nobody calls. Week goes by, nothing. Second week goes by, nothing. Finally, I get a call. And they're like, "We want you to come back. But this time, we want you to mix and match with other people, other hosts." Because at that time, they wanted to have 3 people on the show.
oh, okay.
"Would you do that?" And I said, "Sure." And they said, "Okay. But when you come, expect to be there at least 2 to 2.5 hours, maybe 3 hours." I said, "Okay." So I go, and they said, "You're going to do some cooking demos and you'll interact with other people." I said, "Okay, great." So I go to the same agency and sitting in the lobby again. I'm waiting. I'm looking at these actors. I'm like, here we go again. And I go in and I had to interact with a couple people. And the intent was that I would take different people and mix and match us and do that for 2 hours. I went in, I did my thing. I was literally like 2 minutes, and they said, you can go sit in the lobby. I said, okay, great. So I go and I sit in the lobby. And 5 minutes later, this production assistant comes out. She goes, Corbin. I said, yeah. She says, okay, we're done. You can go. I'm like, oh, really? And she was like, yeah, you can go now. I said, I was told I have to be for like 2, 3 hours. And she's like, no, you can go.
Oh,
So what do you think that means?
I'd be thinking,
I'm like,
oh,
as fast as it started, it fell flat
yeah,
on.
that's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
We're done. So I leave a little bit with my tail between my legs. I thought, okay, whatever. It was a great experience. Whatever. And they said they'll be in contact. And I never heard back. A week goes by, 2 weeks go by, 3 weeks go by. So now I've given up. Like
Yeah.
this has not happened, which is fine. And again, it was one of those lunch hours where we're banging out meals and plates, and we're used to turn that restaurant up on the third floor, second floor, mezzanine level, sorry, 3 times. So we put through 300 people at lunch. It was crazy. So it was always busy. So I was always on the line helping the team or doing whatever I can. And I remember the maitre d came to me in the middle of lunch service. He said, oh, there's somebody here to see you. And I said, I can't see anybody right now. We're kind of busy. Can you just ask them to come back later or take a message? I'll call them. He says, no, they're insisting on seeing. I said, listen, his name was Patrick. I said, Patrick, I can't see anybody right now. Like, you need to go to the front of the restaurant and manage the restaurant so that I can do my job. He says, okay, chef. So he leaves and I'm back and I'm cooking. All of a sudden, corner of my eye, there's this woman standing right outside the kitchen. Who is it? It's Dale Burstein, the producer.
Oh my
I'm
goodness.
like, oh my gosh, talk about horrible timing. And I'm looking at her thinking, okay, what the hell are you doing here? What's going on? And she goes, oh, Corbin, I just want to talk to you really quick. I'm like, oh, I'm really busy. And she goes, no, I just have to talk to you really quick. I said, okay, what is it? And she goes, we never contacted you. And I said, no, you didn't. And she says, we just wanted to let you know that you're the chef on the show. I'm like, what? And she goes, yeah, you were the chef. And I said, I assumed that since you had not called me and I was sent home after 5 minutes that it was done. She goes, no, we loved you from the beginning. We just didn't want to waste your time. I'm like,
Oh,
that would have been helpful
I wonder
in
why
the
they didn't
beginning.
right away, but that's another story.
Anyway, it was just funny. And that's
Oh,
how my TV career started.
oh my goodness. I
And
love it.
that's how, again, I always talk about the opportunity and things. And that led to one show, two show, three shows, four shows, five different shows. And I did Food Network for almost, oh my gosh, almost 15 years.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And a terrific job of it. And now here we are coming full circle. So you got to meet all the people. You have this amazing career your whole life, and everyone knows you, Corbin.
Yeah, and I'm established
Absolutely.
now. People know
Everyone.
who I am. They know me in the city. They know me as the guy on TV. They know me because I would travel back in those days. I would travel and do a lot of stuff, doing events, and I would do sponsorships and endorsements. I was doing commercials. Like I was everywhere.
You
And I was
were.
still working full time.
It's amazing the energy you had. And you have a family as well.
I have a beautiful wife and 3 boys,
Wonderful.
and I'm very fortunate. And it's fast forward to now, it's helped cultivate my business again, where I look at things at opportunity and the constant reinvention of food and
Sure.
experiences through people and food. And I started this business right around COVID, not knowing obviously what was going to impact my business. And it blew up. It just the catering thing blew up because I you have to remember after I left Holtz, I was chef at C5 for a while, and then I did some contract work with Starwood Hotels, and that landed with a credible opportunity with working with Marriott International for a while. And then I thought, okay, I was consulting and I thought, okay, I can't consult anymore. I have to do my own thing. Like, I don't feel like it's my own business anymore.
Right.
Like, I'm reporting to somebody, but it's not me, even though it was my own business. And I took the leap of faith and I started a catering event business. And here we are.
Let's talk about your business today. Name the business and what you're doing so everyone knows.
Sure.
And I'm going to make sure that in the show notes and everything, we're going to have it all for you.
Absolutely. So the business is called Corbin Catering and Foods. We're a full service turnkey catering company, meaning that we do as much or as little as you want for an event or a celebration. So we'll do any scope of event from an intimate, private, social gathering in your home to large style corporate events. We'll do milestone celebrations, birthdays, anniversaries, bar mitzvahs, weddings, anniversaries, a ton of celebrations of life because let's face it, people gather around food. So we do a lot of that. And whether it's Staffing, obviously the food, it's bartenders, servers. You want decor, do you want rentals? Like it's turnkey. We'll do everything. I've had people say, I've got a roster of, what do you call it? Officiants for weddings. I have photographers. I have florists. We just accumulate and put it all together. And that's what we do. And the catering itself was great, but when COVID hit, I lost every gig because
Oh,
people weren't allowed to be together. So I thought, what am I going to do now? And really quick started this pivot of, okay, I'll make food, we'll sell it online. People could pick it up and put it in brown bags on a chair outside
yeah.
of the top, and people pull up their trunks and put it in. And that blew up. And it just established me in the neighborhood a little bit more. Again, people knew who I was from my previous gigs, and it just created this sense of comfort that people needed at that time. And I remember when they started lifting the restrictions and getting rid of all these things you can't do, and people could come together. And now it was like, you could come and see each other. We have to be 6 feet apart and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll get rid of this comfort food thing for online and I'll just go back to events. And I always tell them the villagers came with the pitchforks and said, no, you can't go. And again, I had that aha moment, that opportunity that, okay, how do I bridge the gap of catering and this food thing with taking people's homes? And I thought, okay, I worked at Holt's for 15 years. I'm just going to take that and put it on a much smaller scale in my neighborhood.
Right.
And that's what I did. So I opened up a separate storefront, and the storefront now operates as, I always say, it's like my building of a business card. People walk by, they see it, they come in. Sometimes they see shiny objects. They, oh, I got to come in. I lure them in. But like anything else, you start chatting with people and you establish a relationship. So whether it's myself or my team members, you talk and you connect. Again, back to why I got into food, right? That connection with food. And they'll buy food to go, or, and you have to understand, we also sell gift and gourmet. So we sell table toppings. I sell candles, linens. We sell chocolates, confectionaries, preserves, olive oils. It's like a, how do I say this? It's like a gourmet kind of food shop, but we don't sell produce. I
Okay.
sell the best cheese. We sell charcuterie. We sell so many different things. I've got a wall of charcuterie boards. I call it the boardroom, where people can come in and pick up their own boards, and we'll put cheese and charcuterie on it. And then we have these showcases in the front that sell fresh prepared foods that people come in and buy. So they'll come in and they'll buy different things, and you talk. And then next thing you know, when they need a caterer or to hire somebody for a birthday or an anniversary, or all those things I spoke of earlier, who are they going to gravitate to? Well, they're going to gravitate to us because they know who we are. Oh, that's that funny guy, or he's that, that lady that works at the counter. She's so amazing. They're so friendly. And people they gravitate to those types of things, right? The friendly service, the ability to pay attention and listen and adapt and roll with the punches. And one of the things I pride my business on right now is that we do conform to menus, and we have established programs of what can work for events, but we customize. I will personalize. So if you come to me, Teresa, and say, hey, I have this event and this is what I want, we'll do it.
Good. You know where I'm coming next.
Yeah, exactly. And it's been amazing. And I launched the store in 2021, and here we are, 2025, and it's bigger and better than ever. And we do these constant reinventions from changing the menu. We're always doing different events. And I go in, and yesterday we did this incredible event in Etobicoke. It was unfortunately for a celebration of life, but it was this Italian family gathering around food, and we blew it out of the park with the servers and the bartenders, and it was just this amazing celebration. I thought, and I remember driving home on the Gardiner thinking, I love my job, and how many people get to do that? People get to sit on the parking lot of the Gardiner Expressway and say,
And love it.
my job. And it's hard work, and there's days where, listen, my body says we can't do this anymore, but I push through, we persevere.
Yeah.
And I keep doing it, and I can't imagine doing anything else. I have a fantastic team, and we always have something that's going on. Gosh, Thanksgiving is coming up. That's going to be
Oh, yeah.
turkey mania, because we do ready-made, sorry, prepared turkey meals. So Teresa, if
Beautiful.
you want Thanksgiving, call. We will do everything and anything for your Thanksgiving dinner.
Beautiful.
So you do nothing other than just read, reheat, and eat. And we'll do hundreds. And I'm not like, this is not kidding. Like we started off doing 80 and then 90. Now we're doing hundreds and hundreds of meals in a span of 2 days so that people can gather around a table and celebrate food.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah. So
Oh,
that's it.
That's fabulous. What a journey. What a story. Now, I have two questions for you. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? You're going to keep, is your family part of this now, or is it just you? What are you doing, Corbin?
So I have three boys. I remember when, so I have an elder son who's 22 now, and we have twin boys that are 13.
Okay.
And I remember at COVID when the kids were super little and they weren't allowed to go to school and you were homeschooling. So I remember having them a little table in the shop at the catering kitchen and doing homework and cooking. And you were doing that because I couldn't leave home or I couldn't stay with them at home. I still had business to run.
Absolutely.
And they were still in our, what do you call it? What did they call them? What was that thing when they were your group that you're allowed to be with at COVID? You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I remember what
Anyway,
it was. Yeah.
and I remember Brody little, and he was keen at that time to help out. So I literally give him like a little spray bottle of sanitizer, and he was polishing all the glasses and doing all these little things, like the window of the showcases, and
Sure.
eventually that wore off because he discovered that was work. But my boys aren't involved in the business. I still pull them in every now and then. In fact,
Oh,
Bennett,
good.
my eldest son, who's 22, I hauled him in here the other day because we got this massive skid delivery of Christmas merchandise.
Oh.
So because our store turns into a holiday wonderland,
I've seen some of the pictures there too that you
and
put online. It's beautiful.
like it's just thousands and thousands of pieces of merchandise that we sell. And then I do a pop-up Christmas store because I love Christmas, where we sell great gourmet foods and trinkets and gifts and gourmet. And that's something else to talk about. But my wife works, she is not in the business. That's why it works. We've been together for 20 some years. I think this year it'll be, I should know this. I should know this. 23 years of marriage.
Congratulations.
And our boys are great. They're in school. My eldest son is in university, and I have friends that help out. But 5 years, I'm still going to do it. I would
Good.
like to think I don't know. I can't do anything else.
That's good
I
to
got to
know.
do it. I still have kids to put through university. Of course, I have to work.
Oh, yeah. And you've got twins up and coming. You'll be here forever,
That's
Corbin.
a double whammy. Two university at the same time.
I know I have twin granddaughters, and oh my goodness, it's never ending with twins.
It is
So
never
that's
ending.
wonderful.
But I see at least 10 more years in me to do it, and then maybe I'll step away. And then my wife is the first to say, "Yeah, will you really?" Because I don't take days off. You have to understand, I
Oh,
don't get days off. I work every day. I'm in and out of the house, and I'm running all the time. And that's my passion. And I remember when we first met, I told her, I said, "Listen, if this relationship is going to work, I have to just kind of lay the groundwork and say, there isn't a lot of social life here because I work nights, I work days, I'll work weekends, and I make it work, and we make it work, and we still have our time together, and we entertain at home quite a bit. And now that I've got this incredible business, it gives me a little bit more leeway to go and spend more time at home, but I'm still here every day. My team looks at me like I'm some sort of robot, but I do it and I enjoy it. And I think that helps. And I think if, the people that are like, oh, gosh, I can't go to work. And I have those days because I'm tired. But once I get up and I'm going, I'm ready for it. And I get excited. And here we are in fall of 2025, and I've got holiday in the bank. I'm starting to plan spring right now to get it going. I'm always forecasting 6 months ahead
yeah,
of how we do it, new menus, new ideas. And I think my little boutique catering business we're doing very well and people love us, and I want to grow the business. I would like to get to the point where instead of having two locations, because I have my storefront and then I have a commissary kitchen, is I would like to have one space where we do everything.
sure.
And that's the goal. So there's still big plans.
Oh, that's
And
terrific.
I'm still getting bigger and bigger as an onion.
You said the key though, it's your passion.
Yeah.
And this show is about success stories, people who have had journeys, and what a fabulous journey you've had. Just amazing. Everyone knows you. I mean, everyone. So we're all glad that you came to our viewers and talked to us today. Now, if somebody wants to reach out to you, now
Yep.
I know it's Corbin Catering, but I want you to tell us what's the best place to reach you. Is it your webpage? Is it your
Yep.
social media? What is it, the best place?
Best place is obviously on my website. Just go to corbincateringandfoods.com. There's a link in there to contact us, and whether it's to inquire about what we're doing or what you're thinking or whatever, that's the best way to get it. And if all else fails, come and visit me at my shop. We're in the east end of Toronto on Kingston Road. And it's called Corbin Catering and Foods. And just you can come visit us in the store. You can request a quote online or just reach out online. You can always pick up the phone and call because we do have a line in the store. People still phone, but there's many ways of getting a hold of us. And if you haven't heard of us or you haven't had an opportunity to see what we do, come and visit us at our shop, chat with our team members, chat with myself, and you will immediately be drawn into why we do what we do because it's just a beautiful place to be.
And you're a wonderful person, Corbin. Honestly, it was truly my pleasure to meet you today.
Listen, I could talk for hours. My wife is like, Corbin, will you please just stop
Oh,
talking?
no, we love it. That's wonderful.
But you know what? It's a good place. And I always say, and I tell young people this all the time because young people now versus when I was, they're very different. You always have to go back to the question of what is the opportunity?
I
You know,
like that.
go in one thinking one thing because it's not just one thing. Who knew that a skinny little Polish farm boy from rural Alberta would wind up moving to one of the largest cities of the world, running his own business, and creating the most incredible experiences around food? I would never have thought of that. And interesting enough, I remember my sister told me years ago, she goes, when you were little, 10 years old, I remember saying this. She said, one day you came up to me and you said, one day I'm gonna be on TV and I'm gonna move to Toronto. I don't remember saying it, but I was a super little kid.
Oh, wow.
And I said it. And you know what? I put it out there and it happened. So my advice to anybody that's watching this piece is put it out there.
Yeah.
It will happen.
Fabulous.
And show what you
Everything
love and love what you
about
do.
you, everything about you is wonderful, Corbin. Thank you. Everyone, this is Corbin from Corbin Catering and Food. I have that right. I
Yep.
want to make sure that you all go over to Corbin's social media, but make sure you go to his webpage to go ahead and book and definitely venture out to Kingston Road and take a look at the store, I think, or in your front there with your
Yeah.
catering. Corbin, thank you so much for coming on today. I really, truly appreciate it. I'm
My
glad I met
pleasure.
you today.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure. And you'll make sure I have all your information here, so I'll put it in the show notes for everyone, okay?
Absolutely. I'll send it to you as well.
Thank you, Corbin. To everyone else, this is Teresa Aker from Success Diaries with Teresa Aker. Do subscribe to my channel. I appreciate that. I hope you're having a great day, and I look forward to talking to you soon.